You ever hear about those places tucked away in the corners of America? The ones people pass through but never remember? The places that never sleep because something inside them never lets them. I took the night shift at a quiet airport cafe in Nevada, thinking it'd be easy money in dead hours. But the rules they handed me my first night, yeah, those should have been my first clue something was horribly wrong. When I applied for the job at the Café Skyline, I was desperate. I'd lost my warehouse gig 2 weeks prior. My rent was late, and I was down on my last $20. The ad said, overnight worker needed. No experience required. $22 per hour. Meals provided. Immediate start. Sounded too good to be true because it was. Café Skyline was located in McClellan International, a mid-sized airport near Reno that mostly saw layovers, red-eyes, and private charters. Not many tourists. No families. Just tired travelers with hollow eyes and too many secrets. The cafe sat near Gate 13, tucked in the quietest wing of the terminal, just past a flickering vending machine and an out-of-service escalator. My first night, I showed up 10 minutes early. The place was dim but clean, all chrome counters and glowing menu boards. Smelled like burnt coffee and bleach. A lanky man with a pencil mustache greeted me. "You're Ethan?" he asked, handing me a laminated sheet. "These are your rules. Follow them to the letter. Seriously, don't test it." I gave him a half laugh, thinking he was kidding. He didn't smile. The sheet had 8 rules. Not health code stuff. This was weird. Specific. Rules for Café Skyline. Night duty. Gate 13. 1. Never look in the glass door between 3:12 a.m. and 3:23 a.m. If you do, look away and recite, "You do not belong here." 3 times. Loudly. 2. Serve black coffee to the man in the green pilot's uniform. He will not speak. Do not ask questions. Do not charge him. 3. If a child comes in unaccompanied after 2 a.m., check their reflection. If it's missing, close your eyes and count to 40. Do not open your eyes early. 4. At exactly 4:04 a.m., clean table 6 even if no one sat there. You'll find something. Dispose of it in the red bin only. 5. Never answer the ringing payphone behind the counter. It doesn't connect to anything anymore. 6. Do not, under any circumstances, leave through the back door between 1:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. 7. If someone asks for the special blend, deny we serve it, even if they insist. 8. Clock out before sunrise. No exceptions. I looked up from the list. Is this like a hazing thing? But he just gave me a blank stare. You'll understand soon. His name was Carl, apparently the day manager. He showed me the basics, how to operate the register, brew the coffee, and microwave the breakfast wraps. The cafe didn't even serve real food after midnight, just pre-packaged stuff. It seemed like a cakewalk. Carl left around 11:55 p.m., muttering something about being on time tomorrow or not coming back at all. I laughed it off, locked the front gate halfway, and settled into the counter stool with my phone. Midnight came and went. At 12:17 a.m., a businessman in a crumpled suit staggered in. He didn't say much, just ordered a muffin and a coffee. He looked exhausted but normal. No green uniform. No creepy vibe. Maybe the rules were just a joke after all. Maybe Carl was screwing with me. I started to relax, until the payphone rang. I flinched. It was behind the counter, on the wall next to the soda fountain. The thing looked ancient, the kind you'd see in a 1980s bus terminal. I turned to look. It was definitely ringing. But Carl said, "Never answer the payphone." I ignored it. Let it ring. It stopped after 8 rings. The silence after was worse than the sound. Hollow. Oppressive. The kind of silence that presses on your ears. At 1:03 a.m., a man in a green pilot's uniform walked in. He didn't speak, didn't smile. He was tall, pale, and his eyes didn't seem a blink. He slid onto a stool at the far end of the counter. I remembered rule number 2. Black coffee. No questions. I poured the cup and placed it in front of him. He didn't move, just stared forward, sipped once, and then, slowly, he reached in his coat pocket and placed something on the counter. A boarding pass from 1983. Flight 731. Destination, unknown. I didn't ask. I didn't touch it. He stayed for 17 minutes, then got up and walked out, right through the wall beside the vending machine. I kid you not. The breath left my lungs. I sat down, my hands shaking. At 2:11 a.m., a little girl came in. Red jacket, pigtails, alone. She stood silently in the middle of the cafe, not moving, just watching me. I glanced at her reflection in the freezer door. There was none. My stomach dropped. Rule 3. I shut my eyes and started counting. 1, 2, 3. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. I felt her move closer. 16, 17. A breath on my neck. 28, 29. A tiny voice whispered, "You see me now." I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to open my eyes. 39, 40. Silence. When I opened my eyes, she was gone. So was her voice. But the air still felt wrong, like static before a lightning strike. I was about to collapse when I glanced at the clock. 4:03 a.m. Rule 4. I walked to table 6, an empty booth near the window. Nothing had touched it all night, but on the seat was a single molar, human, bloody at the root. I gagged, snatched a napkin, and dropped it in the red bio bin marked caution. My hands trembled the whole time. The rest of the shift was a blur. I didn't sleep, didn't move, just sat behind the counter, clutching the rules like a lifeline. The sun peaked over the runway around 5:52 a.m. I clocked out at exactly 5:59 and didn't say a word to the morning staff. I told myself I wouldn't go back, that I'd call Carl and tell him he could shove the rules and the pay. But when I checked my phone, there was a deposit already made, $336. For one shift. My rent was due. My fridge was empty, and taped to my door was a sticky note with one word written in thick red ink. Tomorrow. My second night on the job, I told myself I'd follow every rule to the letter. No shortcuts, no questions. But what they don't tell you is that the rules aren't always consistent. Sometimes they twist. Sometimes they test you. And sometimes, breaking one isn't your choice. I learned that the hard way when someone else broke a rule, and I had to pay the price. I showed up at Café Skyline at 11:49 p.m. I didn't want to be early, but I refused to be late. The place looked the same. Clean, empty, artificially lit. But now I noticed the details, the outdated photos of planes on the wall that were long retired from service. The strange silence from Gate 13, where no flights ever seemed to board or land. The flicker in the vending machine screen that made it flash hello for half a second before returning to normal. Carl was gone before I arrived. No notes, no keys, nothing but the laminated sheet taped to the cash register, as if daring me to read it again. I did, and I noticed something was different. Rule 6 originally. Do not, under any circumstances, leave through the back door between 1:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. Now read. Do not leave through the back door between 12:30 a.m. and 4:44 a.m. The times had changed. I hadn't misremembered. I was certain. I stared at it for a long time, heart pounding. Then I grabbed a pen and jotted it down in my notebook. If the rules were changing, I needed to know when and why. At 12:14 a.m., a woman came in. Blonde, flight crew uniform. But her badge said, Pilot Lorraine, Flight 000. She smiled a little too wide. 1 cup of tea, please. Chamomile. We didn't serve chamomile. I told her so politely, expecting her to vanish or walk away like the green uniform man. But she didn't. Instead, she leaned across the counter and said softly, I used to sit at table 6. I froze. She reached in her coat and pulled out a small tin of tea leaves, placing it on the counter. Brew it with hot water. 3 minutes steep time. Not a second more. Her voice was syrupy and calm, but her eyes were glassy, too bright, not blinking, the same as the man the night before. I poured the water. Let steep. Watch the clock. 3 minutes on the dot. I removed the bag and handed it over. She took a sip, and her face relaxed. You followed instructions. That's good. Then she walked away. Not toward the terminal. Not toward the exit. She walked toward the wall between gate 13 and the vending machine, and vanished the same way the pilot had. That was when I understood something horrible. Not every customer was living. At 1:19 a.m., 2 men entered. Security guards, judging by their uniforms, but I didn't recognize them from the airport. One of them had a crooked grin, and the other had eyes too small for his face. They didn't order anything, just stood at the front of the cafe, watching me. Quiet. I offered coffee. No response. I checked the rules. Nothing about 2 silent guards. Then I noticed their name tags were blank. You guys waiting on someone? I asked, voice cracking. The crooked grin one nodded slowly. We're here for the boy. My stomach turned. Boy. Red hoodie. No reflection. Broke protocol yesterday. My breath caught. The little girl. She had a red jacket. Had they gotten it wrong? Or had she not followed the rules too? I didn't see anyone, I lied. Not tonight. The narrow-eyed one leaned in. Tell us if you do. Or next time, we'll come for you. They left without another word. Their boots didn't make sound. Not a single footstep. At 2:47 a.m., a man ran into the cafe. Breathless. Sweating. Eyes wide with panic. He wore a neon safety vest and held a walkie-talkie. I need to use your back exit, he shouted. I shook my head. Can't. It's locked. It's an emergency. There's something on the tarmac. Something big. It's not showing up on radar. Back door's off limits, I repeated. It's in the rules. He grabbed my collar, desperate. Then let me hide behind the counter. Please. It's following me. I didn't know what to do. Rule 6 was clear. No one leave through the back door. But it said nothing about letting someone else in. I motioned for him to duck behind the freezer. That's when I saw the thing outside. Through the cafe window, something huge slithered across the runway. Long skeletal, like a centipede built from airplane parts. It had too many legs, too many lights blinking from its torso. Its head was shaped like a cockpit, but it turned like it had a neck, scanning the windows. I dropped to the floor. The man behind the freezer clamped a hand over his mouth. We sat in silence, the kind that makes your ears ring. After a minute, I peeked over the counter. It was gone, but the air smelled like jet fuel and rot. At 3:12 a.m., the glass door started to ripple, like it was made of water. I remembered Rule 1. I looked away immediately, kept my eyes on the soda machine, and began reciting. You do not belong here. You do not belong here. You do not belong here. I heard something tapping. No, scraping against the glass, like claws dragging slowly. The ripple stopped at 3:23 a.m., and the tapping faded. I turned to check the door. There were handprints on the glass. Too many fingers. At 4:04 a.m., I approached table 6. Empty, as always. But there was a pair of glasses resting on the table. Lenses cracked. Blood spatter on one side. I didn't want to touch them, but I knew I had to. I wrapped them in paper towels and dumped them into the red bio bin. As I did, I noticed something on the frames, etched into the metal. Property of Lorraine, Flight 000. The pilot from earlier. She'd left her eyes behind. As the sun started to rise, I prepared to clock out. I was shaking again, sleep-deprived, wired. But when I reached for the punch clock, it blinked error 13. I pressed it again. Same thing. Then, the lights in the cafe flickered, and the vending machine beside gate 13 started flashing gibberish on its screen. Then it said, "You broke a rule." I checked the list again, frantic. Had he? The man I let hide behind the counter. He never came out. I ran to the freezer. He was gone. In his place was a neon vest, soaked in blood. My mouth went dry. A second later, the payphone rang. This time I answered. A voice whispered, "One down. 4 more nights to go." By night 3, I wasn't just afraid of breaking the rules. I was afraid of the ones making them. The payphone knew things I hadn't said. The pilot's glasses disappeared from a bio bin, and someone or something was watching me from gate 13. The problem is, I didn't know what would kill me first, breaking a rule or blindly following one that had suddenly changed. I almost didn't go back. After I found the blood-soaked vest and answered the payphone, I locked the cafe door and sat in the bathroom until sunrise. My legs cramped. My mind raced. But by the time I got home, another payment had hit my account. $372. Taped to my fridge was another note, same red ink. "You're doing well. Don't stop now." That night, I brought a flashlight, a pocket knife, and a printed copy of the original rules. I even packed a lunch like it might be my last meal. When I reached the cafe, the register already had a fresh rule sheet taped to it. And yes, they'd changed again. This time, there were 10. Updated rules. Night 3. 1. Do not look into the glass door between 3:12 to 3:23 a.m. If you must recite, "You do not belong here." 2. Serve black coffee to the man in the green pilot's uniform. No charge. No talking. 3. If a child enters unaccompanied after 2 a.m., check the reflection. No reflection equals count to 40. 4. At 4:04 a.m., clean table 6, regardless of use. Dispose items in the red bin only. 5. Never answer the payphone. Unless it rings twice, stops, then rings again. Then, you must answer. 6. Do not leave through the back door between 12:30 to 4:44 a.m. 7. If someone requests the special blend, respond, "You're at the wrong cafe." 8. Clock out before sunrise. If the system says error, leave a personal item behind. 9. Ignore anything coming from gate 13. Do not engage. 10. If someone offers you food, never accept it, no matter how hungry you feel. I stared at Rule 9, newly added. Gate 13. It was finally acknowledged. That wasn't comforting. At 12:43 a.m., I noticed something was wrong with the menu board. The digital screen usually displayed 4 meal combos and a tired-looking photo of pancakes. Now, the screen flickered and displayed a new combo. Flight special. Passenger blend. For a taste that never leaves you. I blinked. Looked again. It was gone. I scribbled it down, checked the pantry, and made sure there wasn't anything labeled passenger blend. There wasn't. But in the far freezer, a bin I hadn't seen before was now marked. For gate 13, do not open. The label pulsed faintly in the dark. I didn't touch it. At 1:36 a.m., a woman in an airport uniform walked in. Her ID badge said EMMA, TSA, and she looked normal, frazzled, overworked, human. She ordered coffee and sat at table 3. After a few minutes, she came up and asked, "You got anything stronger?" I raised an eyebrow. "Like an espresso shot." She leaned forward. "No, I mean the special blend." The words echoed like a threat. "Rule 7. You're at the wrong cafe," I said firmly. She didn't blink, didn't move. For 5 whole seconds, she just stared. Then she turned around, walked out, and didn't use the door. She faded mid-stride, just melted away like fog. At 2:28 a.m., a child walked in. Red hoodie, pigtails. Not the same one as night one. This time it was a boy. Blue eyes. Wide, scared. He looked at me and said, "Where's my mommy?" I froze. I glanced at the reflection in the glass. Nothing. I shut my eyes and started counting. 1, 2, 3. But the boy didn't wait. He screamed. It was like a siren, a banshee's wail. 10, 11. I felt the cafe vibrate. 17, 18. Shelves rattled. The clock on the wall spun backward. 22, 23. The red bin burst open, flinging open its contents. Glasses, teeth, a strip of cloth with a name tag. Emma. 40. When I opened my eyes, the boy was gone. So was everything from the red bin. Like it had never existed. At 3:12 a.m., the glass door rippled. Rule 1. Same as always. But this time, I heard voices. Soft. Whispering. Saying my name. Ethan. 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 I refused to look. You do not belong here. You do not belong here. You do not belong here. The whispering stopped, but the phone rang. It rang twice, stopped, then rang again. Rule 5. That means answer. I picked up the receiver, hand shaking. A voice, not the one from before, but one older, raspy, whispered, "Table 6 is hungry tonight. Do not forget. If you skip it, it won't skip you." Then silence. At 4:04 a.m., I approached table 6. It wasn't empty. A tray was waiting on the seat, covered in foil. I hadn't put it there. I lifted the foil with the edge of spoon. It was a human heart, still beating. I dropped the tray, gagged, covered it with napkins, slid it into the red bin, and slammed the lid shut. The bin pulsed once like it swallowed. As I turned back, the lights flickered, and the vending machine lit up again. It showed gate 13. Then, for a second, I saw the security footage, grainy and shaking, of a creature crawling into the cafe. Thin limbs, no face, just a giant, twitching mouth lined with rows of jagged teeth. Then it vanished. Then the screen said, "Do not feed him." At 5:12 a.m., a tall man walked in. Clean suit, smiling. No ID. He sat at the counter, folded his hands, and said, "Can I order the gate 13 special?" I shook my head. He smiled wider. "Come now. I know it's in the freezer." Rule 9 screamed in my head. Ignore anything from gate 13. I turned my back and started mopping the floor. But the man didn't like being ignored. He slammed his fist on the counter and hissed, "You've already opened the cafe to passengers. You just don't know it yet. I turned back. He was gone, but the red bin was open again, and inside was my flashlight, the one I brought tonight. Crushed flat. I never dropped it. At 5:58 a.m., I reached for the clock-out scanner. It worked this time. The screen flashed. See you tonight. On the way out, I passed gate 13. The gate door was cracked open. Inside, a flickering red light pulsed steadily. I shut it. Fast. But just before I did, I heard breathing on the other side. Heavy. Wet. Patient. By my fourth night, the rules had changed again, and so had the cafe. The customers weren't just strange anymore. They were wrong. The dead were eating. The living were vanishing. And gate 13, it wasn't just open. It was calling to me. I thought I could keep my head down, follow the rules, and make it out. But tonight, the rules didn't want to be followed. They wanted to feed. At 10:23 p.m., hours before my shift began, I got a call. Unknown number. I let it ring. It rang again at 10:26, then again at 10:30, then every 5 minutes, until I answer at 11:11. No voice on the other end. Just gate sounds. The PA chime. Footsteps. And over it all, the sound of breathing. Wet, labored, and close. I hung up, but the message was clear. Don't be late. At 11:50 p.m., I entered the cafe. The register lights were already on. The fridge hummed louder than usual. And the smell, it wasn't food anymore. It was ozone and scorched meat. I checked the rule sheet. There were now 12. Updated rules. Night 4. 1. Do not look into the glass door between 3:12 to 3:23 a.m. Repeat the phrase. 2. Serve black coffee to the green uniform man. No charge. No eye contact. 3. If a child enters unaccompanied after 2 a.m., check for a reflection. Count to 40 if none. 4. At 4:04 a.m., clean table 6. Never eat or smell what's left behind. 5. Only answer the payphone after 2 rings, 1 pause, and another ring. 6. Back door remains off limits between 12:30 to 4:44 a.m. Lock it from inside. 7. Special blend. Request equals wrong cafe. Deny firmly. 8. Clock out before first light. Leave something personal if error occurs. 9. Ignore anything from gate 13. No eye contact. No conversation. 10. Refuse all food offered by passengers. No exceptions. 11. If the vending machine says clearance required, step back immediately. 12. If you see a second version of yourself, do not speak to it. Do not blink. It will leave eventually. I stared at Rule 12 for a long time. Then I taped it beside the espresso machine. At 12:17 a.m., the first customer arrived. Same green uniform pilot. But this time, he had a new pin on his jacket. It said, Crew, Gate 13. He didn't speak. I made his black coffee and slid it across the counter. He sipped, nodded, and walked away. But not out the front. He moved straight into the wall. Again. Only this time, I swear I saw the wallpaper shimmer like it was a curtain instead of plaster. When it stilled again, he was gone. At 1:03 a.m., the vending machine screen flickered violently. The lights in the cafe dimmed, and the machine displayed one word in blood-red text. Clearance required. Rule 11. I stepped back, heart pounding. The machine's panel creaked open on its own, and a long, jointed arm extended from the inside. It wasn't mechanical. It was flesh, thin and wiry, covered in rubbery skin. It clawed blindly at the air, fingers twitching. I didn't move, didn't breathe, The arm groped across the counter for a moment, then retracted, pulling something with it. A paper napkin with my name written on it. The panel shut. When I blinked again, the vending machine looked completely normal. At 1:55 a.m., I saw myself. He stood by gate 13. Identical uniform. Same coffee stain on the apron. Same pocket knife clipped to his belt. He smiled at me, too wide, and motioned for me to come closer. I stayed behind the register, frozen. He didn't speak. He just mouthed the words, "You're already inside." Then he turned and walked through the gate 13 door, which had opened itself again. It remained ajar for the rest of the night. I did not close it. At 2:30 a.m., a family entered the cafe. Mother, father, 2 kids, all dressed like they came from the 1960s. The mother spoke first. "Do you serve pie, dear?" I nodded. "Apple or cherry?" "Cherry, then." She smiled, but her teeth were gray. Not yellow-gray, like they'd been smoked. As I placed a slice on the counter, the father asked, "Do you know what terminal this is?" "B. You're near gate 13. They froze. Then the little girl whispered, "That's where we died." I didn't move. They picked up the pie, nodded politely, and walked out. This time, the door opened for them. But none of them had reflections as they passed the glass. At 3:12 a.m., the glass door rippled. I didn't look. "You do not belong here. You do not belong here. You do not belong here." This time, it didn't stop at 3:23. It kept going, rippling, stretching, and then I heard my own voice whisper back, "Yes, I do." The ripple stilled. The glass door shattered inward. No wind, no sound, just a gentle collapse. I didn't go near it. At 4:04 a.m., table 6 had a teddy bear on it. Singed, one eye missing, smelled faintly of ash and baby powder. I picked it up with tongs, dropped it into the red bin. As it hit the bottom, I swear I heard a baby laugh from inside the bin. Not a happy laugh, a mocking one. At 4:47 a.m., the payphone rang once, twice, pause, once more. I answered. The voice was distorted, like someone speaking underwater. It said, "You were gate 13's final meal. Delay the boarding, and you delay your death." I slammed the receiver down, but the vending machine lit up again, showing a new message. "Now boarding. Flight 000, final call." At 5:23 a.m., the cafe lights dimmed to nothing. The emergency lights flicked on in red. The TV above the register turned on its own, and showed security cam footage of the cafe. Me, from above. Then it panned and showed another version of me standing at gate 13. He waved. Then the feed cut out. At 5:59 a.m., I clocked out. The scanner blinked. "See you tomorrow. Final shift." As I walked out, I passed gate 13. This time, it wasn't cracked open. It was wide open. Inside, red lights spilled out onto the linoleum, pulsing like a heartbeat. I looked down and saw a boarding pass tucked in my apron pocket. I hadn't put it there. It read, "Passenger, Ethan Gray, Flight 000, Seat 13C, Departure, midnight, Destination, unlisted." My last night at the airport cafe didn't feel like a shift. It felt like a sentence. The rules weren't just twisted anymore. They were watching me. Gate 13 was open, and I had a boarding pass in my pocket. But this time I wasn't clocking out. I was checking in. There's no safety in rules when the airport itself wants to consume you, and the only thing left is a seat with your name on it. I didn't go home after night 4. I sat in my car until the sun rose, though it never quite felt like daylight reached the airport parking lot. The boarding pass sat on the passenger seat. No barcode, no back, just my name. Ethan Gray, Flight 000, Seat 13C. At 11:45 p.m., I walked back into the cafe for the last time. There were no rule sheet waiting for me. Instead, there was a folded note taped to the cash register. In the same red ink as always, it read, "Tonight, there are no rules, just choices. Choose wisely." A single line, no signature, no instructions. I sat behind the counter and waited. At 12 a.m. sharp, the airport intercom blared, louder than ever. Final call for Flight 000 at Gate 13. Passenger Ethan Gray, report to boarding immediately. The lights in the cafe dimmed. The air turned sharp, electric. The coffee machines stopped brewing on their own. Even the fridge fell silent. The entire cafe held its breath. At 12:06 a.m., the door opened. A tall figure stepped inside. He wore an old-fashioned pilot uniform, black with silver trim, like something from a 1950s sci-fi flick. His eyes were glowing red, but he didn't blink. He held out his hand. "Ready for your flight, Mr. Gray?" I didn't move. He stepped closer. His voice was static, like an old radio struggling through a storm. "You've served us well. Time to serve more directly." Behind him, the red light from Gate 13 pulsed brighter. I backed away. He didn't follow. Instead, he reached into his coat and dropped a second boarding pass on the counter. It had no name, just one word: replacement. You may nominate another, but they must accept willingly. My mouth went dry. Was that what the rules were building toward? A trapdoor out? A loophole? But who would I choose? Who would believe me? The pilot smiled, like he already knew I wouldn't. At 1:14 a.m., the payphone rang. I didn't answer. It rang once, then went dead. Seconds later, the red bin burst open. Inside it, my wallet, soaked in something black and tar-like. My driver's license half melted. My name blurred. Then the intercom buzzed again. Gate 13 now boarding. Final passenger, Ethan Gray. Delays will result in substitution. My skin went cold. What did that mean? If I didn't board, someone else would? At 2:33 a.m., a boy walked in. Same kid as before. Red hoodie, wide eyes, no reflection. He stood by the door and whispered, "Please don't make me go. I don't want to fly again." Tears streamed down his face. Before I could respond, the pilot reappeared behind the boy, one gloved hand on his shoulder. "He's next in line, if you refuse." I lunged forward, furious. "He's not even real." The boy looked up at me. "Neither are you anymore." I ran. Out the cafe. Down the terminal. Gate 13 loomed ahead. Its metal frame now twisted into something organic, like a rib cage. The carpet was gone, replaced by black tile that pulsed underfoot. The door was wide open. A red glow inside. And distant, haunting, was the faint sound of an engine starting. As I reached the threshold, I stopped. Just outside Gate 13 stood Table 6. Right there, in the middle of the concourse. Same chair, same tray, a single item on top, a meal ticket with my name on it. Stamped, paid in full. Then came the voice again. The pilot's, now speaking from inside the gate. "You've already been digested. This is just the final swallow." I turned to run, but behind me was a cafe on fire. Not with flames, no. With light. Brilliant white, then gold, then red. Every item inside floated. Every rule sheet flapped violently in a wind that didn't exist. And on the wall above the counter, where the clock used to be, were the words, "You cannot clock out if you were never alive." I dropped to my knees. The truth was, I didn't remember applying for the job, didn't remember a manager, an interview. I didn't even remember the drive to the airport that first night. The only thing I could remember clearly was standing in the cafe and hearing the first set of rules. It all felt scripted, like I'd been hired to die. But that's when I heard her voice. Soft, familiar, don't bored. It was Emma, the TSA officer from night 2. She stood beside the vending machine now, flickering like a dying signal. "You're not food, Ethan. Not yet. But if you step through gate 13, you become part of it forever." She reached out and dropped a key into my hand. "Use this." The key was brass, faintly warm. It had one word engraved on it. Exit. I bolted down the hallway. The airport flickered between reality and nightmare. Signs twisted. Passengers screamed silently. The tile cracked beneath me. I didn't know where I was going until I saw it. A rusted metal door marked maintenance only. I jammed the exit key into it. It opened. Behind it, blackness. A void. Not escape, but something else. I stepped through. I woke up in a field outside town. No phone. No apron. Just my wallet and a napkin in my pocket. Written in red. "Thank you for your service. Shift complete." It's been 2 weeks. I haven't gone near the airport. But last night, someone knocked on my apartment door. No one was there. Just a single item left behind. A boarding pass. Passenger, Ethan Gray. Flight, 000. Seat, 13C. Departure, tonight. Destination, final. The end.